Alright, we're going to start with the Laguna Smartshop 2 CNC router. This is a model that actually has a 4 foot by 4 foot table. A lot of our videos we do have larger tables, but sometimes you can't fit one of the larger machines in your shop, or you don't need to make big parts. Yet you still want a machine that's well built, that's got a powerful spindle, and it's got a tool changer. That's what this machine does. What makes the machine tool actually move are the guide rails and the drive systems. And on the Smartshop 2s, we basically use a contoured precision guide rail. We also use a helical rack in X and Y and a precision ball screw that's very large in Z. Now, the helical racks basically give you constant mesh, so the machines run much smoother, they're much quieter, and there's no play in them. Alright, the Smartshop 2s are available in a couple of different spindle configurations. This particular model has a 7.5 horsepower liquid-cooled spindle, much like you'd have in a machine shop. This machine is also available with an HSD 11 horsepower spindle. This machine also includes an H-station tool changer. Here's an example of 3 tools that we have installed in it. Okay, the Laguna Smartshop 2 machines come with vacuum tables. In this case, this is a 4 foot by 4 foot vacuum table. It has a grid system so that you can actually use gasketing and make special setups on it, or you could do flow through if you wanted to. It also includes T-slots. T-slots are used for special fixturing, special setups, and if you notice on the table there are also 6 vacuum ports, and those 6 vacuum ports are each controlled by valves that are really easy to access on the front of the machine. One of the best features we came up with for the Laguna Smartshop 2s was the Laguna Touch controller. And there's quite a story that goes along with it. We partnered with B&R Automation in Austria. That's a company that's about $500 million. It's a large company. They do a lot of robotics. They do really high-end automation. And what we really wanted to do was to redefine the experience for the machine operator. And within the Laguna group, we have 50 years of CNC experience with every kind of control you can imagine. So we had the opportunity to sit down and say, okay, what functions and what features do we want the control to have? What do we want the operator to experience to be successful with the controller? And to tell you the truth, we looked at cell phones and we looked at TV remote controls. And we tried to figure out, everybody nowadays in the workforce knows how to use those 2 products. So we tried to configure a machine control that took advantage of those capabilities. You know, if you've watched a lot of our videos, there's something we've always promoted, and that is that technology is used in a company to control the shop floor from the front office. And that's why you'll always hear me talk about the computer programming part is a front office operation. And I want to keep that separate from the shop floor. Alright, so that means that I want to define what the machine operator does, and I want to keep that job easy. And that's why we created that control interface that you don't have to be an engineer to figure out. Alright, and so that's basically where we've always gone. But now there's another scenario that we really haven't talked about, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video for the rest of the video. Let's talk a little bit about Windows technology and machine controls and where it all came from. There's a lot of misunderstanding about it. Windows started appearing on machine controls in the late 90s. Prior to that, the controls didn't have those interfaces, and Windows was really used not to control the machine, but to create a user interface that was a bit easier to use, and it could connect to the networks. So you could connect a computer to the wireless network. In those cases, the Windows computer was always kept separated from the machine control. The machine control never relied on the Windows technology. That way, if Windows crashed or something happened, your machine still ran. You didn't lose your setup. Now, after that, another idea came along, and that was, let's just take a Windows computer and let's stick a card in it and let's let that control the machine. And those work, but the problem is now you become tied into Windows updates and service packs and new drivers, and every time something comes along, it can cause a problem. The other part of that is most of the resources in the computer are used to run Windows, not your machine, so the performance is terrible. Now, you say, well, how can you tell? It's real simple. All you got to do, if you want to evaluate a machine, watch how it moves in and out of corners. We'll run a machine here after a while, and you can watch that. But think about it as a sports car. If I've got a curvy road, I can drive down it in a Porsche or I can drive down it in a dump truck. Well, if I drive down it in a dump truck, it's going to lumber along and it's going to slow down before the curves and speed up real slow. If I've got a sports car, I just go through there. It's the same thing on machine controls. A quick, fast machine control goes through the small geometry quickly, a slow one doesn't. And that's the real difference in performance between a control that relies on Windows to run the machine versus one that's simply using Windows as a front. Okay, let me explain to you how we handle the connectivity issues when we design this controller with B&R. For one thing, it has a Cat5 connection to it, so it has a network connection, and the controller itself has an IP address. That enables us from the tech center in Irvine, California, to log into your machine control, and with the diagnostic software, it'll tell us what's wrong. If there's a card that's not working or a component that's not working, it flags it and it tells us. So that's one part of that connectivity. What's more important in connectivity to me probably in the shop is how I get programs in and out. In other words, I create a program over here in the software, I load it into the machine. So, but that whole concept of the network also gave us this ability. I can bring a laptop computer that's running Windows, as in my laptop, and I can actually run the machine with that laptop. I can create things in software like VCarve Pro. I can run the machine through my laptop, and I want to show you how that works. Okay, now I brought my laptop in from the office. Now this can be a laptop, it could also be a desktop computer. Maybe you want a desktop computer in your shop. Maybe that's part of how you do things. It doesn't really matter. Now let's look at what this can do. I can actually run the machine, not from the control, but from the laptop itself. So let's go over and turn this on. And that's actually the machine control. So that's actually the user interface that you see there. So if I want to jog the machine, I use the same controls I use below. Hit manual, tell it what axis I want to jog it, and which direction. Use the arrow keys, and the machine corresponds. These are the same controls you have on the touchscreen, so you have all the same functionality that you would have running the control off the console. A feature that you're really going to like on this machine is automatic tool touch-off. Now, if you've never ran a CNC, it may not mean anything to you, but after you've ran it for a while, you're going to like it. Here's why you need it. When you put a router bit into a tool holder, it's held in with a collet. And when you tighten it down, the amount that sticks out from a collet can vary. It depends on how far you push the bit in. Well, somewhere we have to tell the machine that. So if you don't have automatic tool touch-off, we have to do what's called manually touching the tool off. But with automatic tool touch-off, all I have to do is say, tool number 1, go touch it off. Tool number 2, go touch it off. Think about that when you have 8 tools. Okay, now that we've kind of reviewed the machine and we've gone over it and we've talked about the controller options and that kind of stuff, let's put this to practical use. If you watch any of the videos, you know I really like VCarve Pro. Well, I happen to have VCarve Pro on my laptop, and I have a little cabinet I've designed, and let's see how we go from that to the machine using a Windows computer plugged in. Okay, this is a little cabinet end panel that I make all the time. It's a right end panel for a cabinet. It's something you might make in a shop typically. Alright, and I've tool pathed it. So if I go over here to the tool paths, you'll see that I've got my drilling and my dado cutting and my groove cutting in the outside. And what I would probably do is I'd do a simulation. And I'd just say simulate all tool paths and get rid of waste material. And there's a cabinet part. So there's, what I've done basically is created a tool path. I've verified that everything's right? So remember, in VCarve Pro, create the drawing, apply the tool paths, output the code. So now we need to output the code. And I'm just going to go over here to the output code button, create the tool paths. I'm going to click the ones I want to output, which because we have tool changers, all of them, and I'll say save tool path. That creates the G-code program that we're going to use, and I put it in a folder on the desktop called Today's Work. Okay, now we've got all that ready. Now let's just transfer the file to the machine. And it's really simple. That's the file that I just created. That's a G-code file. I just drop it over the machine. If I want to, for any reason, look at it, I can right-click and click Edit, and I can actually look at the G-code itself. That's what makes the machine run. That's all there is to it. Now I'm ready to run the program. I don't have any material on here, but I'm going to cut it up in there so you see the tool changes, you see the machine move. So I basically, on the control, go to the run screen, make sure the program's selected, and I hit the cycle start button. And the program starts. Everything done on the laptop computer. the very, very best machine control companies in the world do things the way we do. They have a basic machine control that controls the machine itself. They have a Windows interface that you basically gives you connectivity, and in our case, the ability to design something in the shop itself. So I hope you understand that a little more clearly. If you have more questions, go to our website, www.lagunatools.com, or you can call our telephone, 800-234-1976. But you know what I really like about this strategy? Because when I'm done, I can take my computer back to the office where it's clean, and I don't have to worry about dust.